Greetings, everyone. Thank you all for being with us here today. I'm Dr. Kelechi Agwem, the Executive Director of Appeal Incorporated. And for some who may not be familiar with Appeal, who may be attending our workshops for the first time, Appeal is a Black empowerment organization. Appeal stands for Association of People for Pan-Africanist Economic Advancement through Leverage. Our mission is to organize and strategically utilize the vast resources of our people in order to build strong, prosperous, sustainable communities. And we have several platforms to do that. One of those platforms is education, which is what this series that we're in. We're actually in the last of the SEAC series, which is our historical, cultural, political series. And I thank all of you all who have been um, joining us throughout the week. The chairperson of this committee is Mama McKinney. She'll be joining us a little bit later. We have other members of the committee, Baba Tracy Johnson, Mama Tendai, and Mama Madonna as well, and myself. And we thank all those who have been joining us all these many, I think it's been 8 weeks. Hopefully you've grown from it, and we thank all those who come back because you get the first one workshop for free. You come back, you pay. So that allows us to have the medium to do the workshop and organize the workshop. And we thank our members for allowing us to have this platform as well, because without those memberships, we can't do what we do. I do want to, before we get started, announce the conference, which we have been announcing. We have our inaugural Black Empowerment Conference happening from September 25th to the 27th. So just briefly, it's a 3-day conference. It's going to cover a myriad of topics. The very first day, which is that Friday, the 25th, is going to be a meet and greet right here in DC, Apopio restaurant in DC. Just a meet and greet. Just a couple hours for as long as folks want to stay, I suppose. But Saturday, which is the 26th, we're going to have an all day conference. You know, several tracks depending on where your interests are. And then on Sunday, we'll have our Founders Day, a celebration to close out the conference. People are already registering. You can register now at appealinc.org. You'll also get emails about that as well. This is one of our Founders Day is one of our biggest events of the year. It's our main fundraiser. We also have opportunity for sponsorships. If you're an individual or an organization that wants to sponsor, one of the main goals of Appeal is the establishment of the first national Black credit union. All the funds raised during the conference and during Founders Day go towards that, as well as covering the cost of the conference as well. So we appreciate any sponsors. We've already had a couple of folks reach out to us who are interested in sponsoring. So if you are interested in sponsoring, you can also reach out to us at info@appealinc.org, and you'll get information prompting you to do that as well. So with that, I want to turn over the microphone to Mama Tendai, who's a member of this committee, and she will introduce our guest for the day, who is a founding member of Appeal. Let me just put that plug in for her. Sante Sana.
Yes. Our speaker today, attorney, or we call her Mama Nkechi, Taifa Esquire. Uh, Not only is she an attorney and a Pan-Africanist, but she lives what she talks about. Let me just start off by saying that. As an attorney, she is a civil rights and human rights attorney, scholar, activist. She now is a talk show host, an author. She's the director of the Reparation Education Fund Incorporated, inaugural commissioner on the National African American Reparations Commission, and a founder of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. She also, as we're saying, is a member of Appeal, as a founding member, as a matter of fact. And she has not only delivered a powerful TED Talk on reparations, an issue whose time has come. She's a native Washingtonian. She's the author of bestseller memoir, Black Power, Black Lawyer, My Audacious Quest for Justice, and not only many other books and publications, but Mama Nkechi started writing when she was I think when she was still in the womb. So at that point, she wrote children's books to make our children aware of themselves and their identity and the things that our ancestors had accomplished to show them the road of what it was that they could do. Uh, she was able to take a visit to Ghana in last December because she was part of a small delegation of diaspora reparation experts who met with President Mahama, president of Ghana, in preparation for the UN resolution, which you all, I'm sure, have seen all kinds of information over the news this past few days. And he gave his speech and his demand for reparations for the atrocity of the enslavement of our ancestors on the remembrance of Enslaved African Day. As well, she also had, I don't know when it was last year, when she gave her testimony at the United Nations Permanent Forum for People on African Descent, indicating the atrocities that have been committed against our ancestors and the remnants that have resulted and continue to impact us as Africans wherever we are in the diaspora as well as on the continent. So she, when she attended the small meeting with the president of Ghana, she was also in the company of CARICOM representatives. You know, these are all folks who have land. We don't have any land over here that we can say that we own or that we are in charge of. That's one of the deficiencies that we have in terms of working with reparations. But she highlighted during her testimony Marcus Garvey, Queen Mother Audrey Moore, Malcolm X, and other historical visionaries that helped ignite the global movement for reparations that is bearing fruit now. Her advocacy for the United Nations also centered on the power of words, language, and evolving new narratives respecting the experiences of Africa and its historical global diaspora at international drafting tables. Joining us today is Mama Nkechi. I just want to mention that she's going to focus on March the 25th, when the president of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, introduced the historic resolution at the United Nations General Assembly, declaring the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. Without further ado, Mama, sister, daughter, attorney, Nkechi Taifa Esquire.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much, Iya Tendai. I mean, wow, that was phenomenal introduction. You didn't need to do all that. I'm just Nkechi, Sister Nkechi, up in here. But I want to really thank you, and I want to thank Appeal. See, I got my little Appeal shirt on for not only bringing me on, but so many people talking about so many pertinent things. And I must say, I must hold my hat out to you, my gele, out to you, my earrings, whatever, because you asked me to speak on this before it got big, before I even knew it was going to be as huge as it was. You all engaged me. I don't remember how long ago, but it was a while ago. And I even said at that time, I said, well, Baba Kelechi, I don't know how much I'm going to be able, I don't know how much I really have to say. I know I'm not going to take up the full 2 hours. You got to put some other fluff up in there. But oh my goodness, this has taken off like wildfire. Oh, okay. So on March the 25th, 2026, a day globally recognized as the International Day of Remembrance for the transatlantic trafficking in enslaved Africans, I was proud to bear witness to one of the most profound moments of my life. And if we can put the first slide on, I'm going to take myself off some. And this is just grassroots kitchen tabletop an hour ago slides put together. I mean, so don't. But I just thought it might be better to have a little bit of visuals as I'm making the presentation. And actually, okay, what this is at the African burial ground the day before this huge declaration on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly, I stood on sacred ground at the African burial ground in New York City as part of an official wreath-laying ceremony where His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama of the Republic of Ghana delivered a powerful keynote flanked by national and local leaders. Did you see someone in the head wrap right there? That me right there. Okay. Oh no, I'm right here too, because these were all this Mayor Mandami there. There's old good old Reverend Al is there. There's the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ghana there. So there are a number of people. The Senator James Sanders, who actually co-introduced reparations legislation in New York State, and someone else who actually did speak, someone that I recommended was the the convener of New Yorkers for Reparations, actually the coalition that is working towards making the New York State reparations bill, reparations in New York State, reality. Oh, okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let's see what else we got there from the burial ground. I think there's another slide there. We can. Okay, yeah. So that's the burial ground there. You see the head wrap. That's me. That's Senator Sanders there. There's Dr. Von Daniels in the back. There's my dear sister Lurie Daniel Favors from Sirius XM Radio, and this is Dr. Vicky Casanova Willis. We all were there, many more, but those are folk that I had specifically invited to be there. It was totally and completely invitation only, and the whole picture is not coming out, but Jean-Pierre Brutus from the New Jersey Institute on Social Justice was in this picture as well. So let's go to the next slide. Not sure what it is right now. Okay, so the next day, well, not the next day, excuse me, later that day, we're talking about the 24th right now. That afternoon, I was present inside the United Nations at a high-level special event on reparatory justice, again hearing directly from the President, His Excellency, I just like to keep saying the name, John Dramani Mahama, and other luminaries. And are we able to play the link from his address that day preceding the vote? So while you're pulling that up, it was...
You cannot use the social norms of today to judge the actions and events that took place in the past. Well, such people are loud and wrong. Just because everybody is doing something doesn't make it right. Slavery is wrong now, and it was wrong then. For as long as Africans have been trafficked and enslaved, there have been abolitionists who have spoken up against it. The first slave ship landed in America in 1619. Opposition to chattel slavery was voiced and mentioned in passing in documents. But in 1688, the Germantown Friends, a group of Quakers, put out a formal written protest against slavery. And in it they wrote, and let me quote, "Now, though they are black, we cannot conceive there is more liberty to have them slaves as it is to have other white ones. There's a saying that we shall do to all men like as we would have done to ourselves, making no difference of what generation, descent, or color they are. Quotations close.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work.
Okay, that was just a little flavor. There's more, but you know we can just go on and go on. So the next day, I helped to coordinate a 6-hour global watch party and discussion webinar witnessing in real time history unfolding on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly. Now, I was not there that next day, which was the 25th, because that was only for governments. Okay, so me and my colleague, who actually is the mover and shaker of all this, I'll mention her about her in a little bit, but we were saying, well, we're just going to go, let's just watch the proceedings and just invite a couple of people. And then she came up with a great idea. Well, why not coordinate and organize a global watch party and have a webinar afterwards that reflects on what happened with representatives from all of our colleagues that we've been working with, from CARICOM, the Caribbean, from Brazil, from the UK, from Africa, of course, and, from here, the United States. So we did. So what you see on the screen is the actual vote count. 123 countries voted in favor of the resolution. 3 countries voted against, and 52 abstained. And I'm going to break all that down in just a moment. But the fact that there were only 3 opposed, and you already know one was the United States, you already know one was Israel, and the other one was Argentina, which is beholden to the United States. So they overwhelmingly supported Ghana's bold resolution declaring the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. I gotta say that the global South stood firm. Let's go to the next slide. This is a list of the countries here. The screen is kind of big on the screen, but that you get a sense. Like I said, 123 in favor, 52 abstentions, and only 3 opposed. So what was one of the main reasons for the abstentions as well as the opposition? Okay, it was the language. Okay, which was one of the reasons why I was in Ghana in December. Because the past September, President Mahama on the floor of the UN announced that he was going to, what they call, table this resolution in March, which just happened a couple of days ago. And since that time, he's been going around the world. First, he went to the African Union and was able to secure their unanimous consensus. That's major because the African countries really, when they stand together, are the largest countrywide region-wide block. Okay, that is profound, and so they stood together. He went to the Caribbean, to CARICOM. They did as well. He went all over. But one of the things that kept coming up was, and this is amongst friends, and as I wrote in an article the other day, I quoted Amilcar Cabral, who basically stated, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. I must admit that I too, Little Miss Revolutionary Black Power, me, was questioning, are you sure you want to use the language? And at that time was the greatest crime, because there's going to be flack with respect to that. So us as part of the diaspora committee of global experts were debating that back and forth. But let me tell you this, and I will admire him to the utmost. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama stood firm. He said, no, we must speak truth to power. That is what it was. And he had the evidence to totally and completely back it up. But it was one of the things that the United States, and we're going to see hopefully that video. So if you can find that one of the United States opposition. And it's really interesting because Trump said, hell to the UN. We're not going to participate in the UN. We're going to cut your funding and all like that. Yeah, they did come out of the woodwork to respond negatively to this profound declaration that was put on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly. Now we're looking for the one that has the opposition, and it was the one that was the Google Drive one. That's what we're looking for right now. So like I said, the reason why we got that 123 yes votes is precisely because the global South stood firm. Okay. They did not capitulate. Okay. And as a result, we have a vote such as what we have not had in, I would say, since the early 60s, when there was a whole regime change internationally as the quote unquote so-called third world countries, Africa and the like, were gaining their independence and were becoming the majority with respect to the United Nations and the like. So what has happened over these past several months was not accidental. Again, it was a result of deliberate, strategic, and sustained organizing at the very highest levels. Mahama built consensus across the African Union, CARICOM, Brazil, Colombia, the Global South, and more. And while we're looking for that video of the U.S. opposition, I want to say he did not do it alone. I want to tell you about someone who was behind the scenes, okay? A powerful colleague that I'm proud to name because I was, in fact, or am still a mentor to her, but not in this realm. Her name is Jasmine Mickens, also known as Reparations Baddie. She is a globally recognized impact strategist whose work bridges diplomacy, geopolitical analysis, and diaspora strategy. And in my words, my profound words, I call her a profound mover and shaker. And I just want to publicly thank her because she was able to be the behind the scenes person who knew all the little players, knew all the diplomats, knew all the folk from the African Union, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to the CARICOM, Sir Hilary Beckles and Vereen Shepherd and the like. From the UK, Belle Addy, she's African sister who is in Parliament there in the UK. The folk in Brazil, the folk in Colombia. So using all those contacts was able to really make sure that this happened. So are we okay with the video or what?
Yes, Mom.
Mama
We're
Tracy?
ready to go. Yes.
We're ready to go?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just stalling. Go on. Let's rock and roll. This is the U.S. opposition.
Excellencies, permanent representatives, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Progress is made in little steps. It is the forward motion towards something better, and changes often.
Yeah, that one's not the opposition.
Today,
Yeah,
That's not the opposition one?
that's President Mahama. The opposition was the one that was in the Google Docs thing that I emailed to you.
I couldn't get that one.
Oh, you didn't see the email, or you can't bring it up?
Let me see if I can see the email. Excuse me 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in the interim, I don't know if we played this one. This was the one. Let's play this one. I think this is the one that was actually on the floor on the day of. So unless we can't do both at the same time, I don't know.
Marks the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. It is a day on which we honor the memory of the approximately 13 million African men, women, and children who were enslaved over the course of several centuries. We remember them through articles, oral histories, through broadcast programs, books, music, visits to museums, monuments, and memorials such as the Ark of Return, located right here at the Visitors Plaza of the United Nations headquarters. Through these activities, we do more than remember. We document and educate. We gain greater perspective. We find the delicate balance of learning from history so that we do not repeat it while leaving our pain behind. In doing so, we begin to heal individually within our immediate communities and also within the global community. This day of remembrance did not happen by accident. In 2006, our global community gathered here, just as we have done today, and resolved to designate the 25th of March of the following year a day of remembrance. It marked significant progress. Then the following year, in 2007, we decided to make the event an annual one so that the 25th March of every year would be the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. That marked an additional step in our forward motion. And so it's indeed fortuitous to be here today, 2 decades later, addressing the General Assembly on behalf of the African Group regarding the draft resolution entitled Declaration of the Trafficking of Enslaved Africans and Racialized Chattel Enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. In September last year, at the 80th session of the General Assembly, I stood in this exact place and served notice that Ghana will move a motion to declare the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. This current draft resolution is a result of months of consultation and consensus building by continental bodies, nations, experts, scholars, and jurists, with the sole aim of achieving a united front and grounding the final outcome in truth, compassion, and moral conscience, remembrance, education, and dialogue. So today we come together in solemn solidarity to affirm truth and pursue a route to healing and reparative justice. The adoption of this resolution serves as a safeguard against forgetting. It also challenges the enduring scars of slavery. Madam President, let me conclude with 2 significant quotes by 2 great leaders of history, one of them white and one of them black. The former President of the United States of America, Theodore Roosevelt, said, and I quote, "With a great moral issue involved, neutrality does not serve righteousness. For to be neutral between right and wrong is to serve wrong." Again, civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King also reminds us, and I quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." We've traveled this long road, each step guided by a desire to be better and to do better. each step bringing us closer to the kind of world we would want to leave for our children. And so, delegates, on this beautiful day in March, we're called to stand on the right side of history. Let it be recorded that when history beckoned, we did what was right for the memory of the millions who suffered the indignity of the slave trade and those who continue to suffer racial discrimination. Let our vote on this resolution restore their dignity and humanity. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, President, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And now, hopefully, we might have the U.S. opposition. So let me know. If not, we'll go on. But I will say that the U.S. opposition was morally indefensible and historically revealing. The vote was a stark reminder that the resistance to reparations is not about the lack of evidence. We're going to talk about the evidence in a minute, but it is about the lack of political will. And while the world advances toward truth and accountability, the United States remains entrenched in denial. Yet, this moment only deepens the clarity of our demand. Okay, this is it. You can play.
A distinguished representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The United States remains steadfast in its opposition and condemnation of historic wrongs that resulted from the transatlantic slave trade, the trans-Saharan slave trade, and all other forms of slavery. We remain committed to the acknowledgement that these historical wrongs. Despite this, the United States observes that the text of this resolution remains highly problematic in countless respects. Consequently, the United States cannot support the adoption of this resolution. We regret that the United States must once again remind this body that the United Nations exists to maintain international peace and security. It was not founded to advance narrow, specific interests and agendas, to establish niche international days, or to create new costly meeting and reporting mandates. This resolution does all three. The United States has defined long-standing objectives to the framing of reparatory justice and the duty of reparation for historical wrongs. While we acknowledge the horrors of the past, we do not accept this resolution's assertion that historical facts from the 15th through 19th century constitute violations of jus cogens, as the term is understood in contemporary international law. The United States also does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. In addition to its obvious legal problems, this resolution is also unclear as to who the recipients of reparatory justice would be. The drafters and supporters of this resolution seem to believe it is them. The United States strongly objects to the cynical usage of historical wrongs as a leverage point in an attempt to reallocate modern resources to people and nations who are distantly related to the historical victims. As stated at the outset of these negotiations, the United States also strongly objects to the resolution's attempt to rank crimes against humanity in any type of hierarchy. The assertion that some crimes against humanity are less severe than others objectively diminishes the suffering of countless victims and survivors of other atrocities throughout history. This is not a competition. This attempted ranking is also simply incorrect as a matter of law. The United States would also like to express disappointment in the arbitrary historical perspective of the text. Trafficking in African slaves began long before the 15th century and sadly continued even after the 19th. These dates were clearly selected for political reasons rather than historical accuracy. All trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans deserve to be condemned, not merely the political expedient. Also, there are some fake news articles suggesting that the sponsors of this resolution called into question President Trump's support of the Black community. We reject any such suggestions. Indeed, President Trump has done more for Black Americans than any other president and enjoyed historic support from the Black community in the 2024 election. He is working tirelessly to deliver for them and make our country greater than ever. Finally, we must express our deep disappointment regarding the process that led to this text. Throughout drafting, the United States and other delegations offered constructive contributions aimed at aligning the text with the established international legal frameworks. These contributions were ignored. For these reasons, the United States will vote no on this resolution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Goodbye. Okay, so, the U.S. voted no. The UK and European Union abstained. One of the arguments for both was that, quote unquote, U.S. said no single set of atrocities should be regarded as more or less significant than another, and that the U.S. does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. And what I want to go to the next slide, please, if it is the next one. Because I'm going to share with you some of the evidence, okay, that upon which this no more video. Yeah, keep. Can you make it? It's so big, we can't read it. Can you make the screen a little smaller and not so big? Yeah, okay, that's yeah. Because the next several we're gonna. So the U.S. vote. Again, I said it's not about a lack of evidence. It's about a lack of political will. We saw very vividly several days ago the world advancing toward truth and accountability, yet the U.S. remained entrenched in denial. But this only deepens the moral clarity of our demand that repair is owed and that justice cannot be postponed indefinitely. Next slide, please. PALU, the Pan-African Lawyers Union, emphasized in a statement that the qualification of the gravest crime against humanity is descriptive. It's an articulation of truth rather than a hierarchical assessment. The PALU, the Pan-African Lawyers Union, said that the terminology reflects the widely recognized scale, duration, and systemic enduring impact of racialized chattel enslavement, the combination of which constitutes an absolute crime comparable to no other but itself. And what you see on the screen right now, leave that on the screen, please. Something went in the middle of it. But I took some excerpts from the declaration that details the evidence upon which the assertion, which again was overwhelmingly accepted, that the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and racialized chattel enslavement was the gravest crime, not hierarchical, but descriptive. So one of the excerpts was historically unprecedented, recognizing that the inception of racialized chattel enslavement was historically unprecedented in its legal and structural design, being the first global regime to codify human beings and their descendants as inheritable, alienable, in perpetual property, to convert human reproduction into a mechanism of capital accumulation, and to institutionalize racial hierarchy as a governing principle of international political and economic order. So one excerpt, again, historically unprecedented. Go to the next slide, please. Another excerpt, world-breaking and world-defining. In the resolution, it said, taking note of the inception of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement as world-breaking and world-defining, which ushered in the racial capitalist system, transforming the fates of all peoples across the world through new racialized regimes of labor and property. Next slide, please. Next expert, sir, this is the evidence. He had experts from all over the world working on these definitions to make sure that it was tight. Continues to inform, recognizing the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement. Enslavement of Africans as a crime, whose moral, legal, social, and economic logics continue to inform structural racism, racial inequalities, underdevelopment, marginalization, and socioeconomic disparities, which disproportionately affect Africans and people of African descent in all parts of the world. And I want you to take note, where you keep saying enslaved Africans, we got them out of saying that we were slaves, okay? So, we have an impact on what's happening on the world scene. Next slide, please. Systematic, widespread, and institutionalized. Again, these are just excerpts from this lengthy, groundbreaking, phenomenal resolution, which overwhelmingly passed the United Nations General Assembly on a vote of 123, acknowledging that the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement, this language was very precise, y'all. We said racialized chattel enslavement because people are going to say, okay, well, there's slavery going on today. Yeah, I did. But we're talking about a particular system, okay, that involved us between the 15th and late 19th centuries, constituted a systematic, widespread, and institutionalized regime of violence, exploitation, dehumanization, and racial subjugation involving states, private entities, institutions, and other beneficiaries across continents and oceans. Next slide, please. This is profound. This is not something that was just pulled out of a hat, people. Another excerpt, exceptional gendered nature, acknowledging also the exceptional gendered nature of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement, in which African women and girls were systematically subjected to sexual violence, forced reproduction, domestic servitude, and gender-specific forms of exploitation, which rendered them uniquely vulnerable to multiple and aggravated forms of racial, sexual, and economic domination, while also acknowledging their central role in sustaining families, cultures, resistance movements, and abolitionist struggles under conditions of extreme coercion. Next slide, please. The magnitude of victims, the reach, the duration, acknowledging that the magnitude of victims, geographic reach, duration, commodification, state and corporate participation, and deliberate dehumanization of enslaved Africans. Oh, well, I don't know. Just when I was reading that, I was just visualizing Bob Marley taking that speech of Haile Selassie and taking it into war, oh Lord, I can see we need our cultural people. You hear that? Acknowledging that the magnitude of victims, geographic reach, duration, commodification, state and corporate participation, and deliberate dehumanization. Whoa, I can see that. Okay, of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans produce such enduring global consequences, including the large-scale destruction of African societies, the demographic re-engineering of continents, and the entrenchment of racialized inequalities that continue to structure international relations, thereby warranting recognition of the transatlantic slave trade. Again, that's in words. We're just still fighting on that. I'm going to talk about a little bit that in a minute. But in slavery as the gravest crime against humanity. Now, I don't know exactly where the change came from the greatest crime to the gravest, because when I was in Accra in December, the terminology was greatest. But I think I like gravest because, they're talking about the gravity of the situation, and maybe greatest might lead one to, deal with this hierarchical ranking, but gravest, as far as I'm concerned, does not. Next slide. We're going to the next slide. Yes. Legacies persist today, recognizing that the legacies of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade persist today in the form of structural racism, racial inequalities, underdevelopment, marginalization, and socioeconomic disparities affecting Africans and people of African descent in all parts of the world. And before we go to the last slide on this section, I just want to say I got to give the shout out to NCOBA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, of which a lot of people on this Zoom are part of and were founding members of. It was NCOBA, really, that talked about, well, we're not just talking about reparations for the enslavement period alone, but we're talking about its living legacies, the dots that connect back to the enslavement era, the living legacies that exist down to this very day, whether it's in the black-white wealth gap, whether it's in health disparities, whether it's in economic disparities, whether it's in educational inequities, whether it's in the mass incarceration, the criminal punishment system, all must be repaired, because all of these dots lead back to that original sin. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, gravest crime against humanity unequivocally condemns the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans, slavery, and the transatlantic slave trade as the most inhumane and enduring injustice against humanity, declares the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity, emphasizing the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity by reason of the definitive break in world history, scale, duration, systemic nature, brutality, and enduring consequences that continue to structure the lives of all people through racialized regimes of labor, property, and capital. And let me see, I think, I'll keep going. I think there's one or two more. Next slide. Okay, so let's just hold it right there. Let me just say, this year also marks the 25th anniversary of the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. From 2001, the World Conference Against Racism held in Durban, South Africa, in which Over 400 people were mobilized, mainly by December 12th movement and many other organizations as well. And out of that convening came the Durban Declaration and Program of Action, which said that the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. And at that point, the United States walked out. Okay. So here we are 25 years later on the actual floor of the United Nations General Assembly with all of the nations around the world on the spot. United States didn't walk out this time. Okay. They voted no, but they were there. 52 nations abstained. I want to say something about that. Today is the big demonstration all over the country called No King's Day. Okay? I submit that countries around the world no longer necessarily want to be identified with and associated with this country that we live under right now, the United States of America. In another time, many of those 52 would have voted no. But they did not vote no. They didn't vote yes, but they did not vote no. And I think that that is highly critical, because we are, in my humble opinion, walking into a new world order. A world order that the global South is going to be taking the ascendancy. We saw the African Union. I had my numbers. I don't see it. I forgot how many. 50-something strong in the African Union as a bloc. Okay? Unanimously. Okay? We're in a new international regime. And I just kind of remember in the 1960s dealing with the Declaration on the against all forms of racial discrimination, all of the different UN documents, and the, oh my God, I don't know why I can't remember it now, the granting of independence to colonial peoples, all the stuff that I learned at the feet of Brother Mario Bubakari Obadeli before I even went to law school, the Genocide Convention, you know, and all like that. So I just say that we're in a new world order right now. What you see on the screen right now, as I think I mentioned earlier, we, and when I say we, it was myself and my colleague Jasmine Mickens, along with our global partners in the UK, the African Union, Brazil, Colombia, you know, CARICOM, the Jamaica, you know, and the like, decided to host a global watch party. Okay, and we can't see it yet, but the different organizations, you see REP there, that's Reparation Education Project organization I belong to. But we also said, okay, most of those events I talked about, the Reef Lane and inside the UN the day before, were closed events. You had to have credentials upon credentials in order to be able to get in, and it was only availed to a few. So we said we want to have some type of community event. So we organized an event. It was held at the African Union mission to the United Nations called From Remembrance to Repair, bridging the local and global movement for reparations. That was after the vote. So we had two mechanisms for reflection. The reflection during the Global Watch Party, where we watched the votes, we watched the speakers go up there and speak, and we watched the vote unfold. And the evening event From Remembrance to Repair. Both were very, very highly successful. And all of this was literally organized during like one day. Many of you all, I will apologize, might have seen many, many emails that I sent out saying, oh, disregard this link. We got a new link. It's not at this address. It's at the other address. Because we were like building the plane while it was flying. And let me tell you, it was flying. Okay, so we had already sent out a link, but then when we made it much bigger and much broader, little Nikichi with my non-techie self knew I couldn't handle any type of tech on a global watch party. So we got our colleagues in the African Union in Ghana, in Accra, to be able to do that. Let's see what's on the next slide. I'm not even sure right now. Oh, okay, so I will also say, no, go back to, it's this next, maybe this is next, okay. So this is just a little pics, okay. You all might know to the left in the very, I don't know if you, oh yeah, do you all see my little cursor? Yes or no? Or someone can speak. I think we're all
No, we
muted.
can't see your cursor.
Okay, well, to the top left, Larry Daniel Favors. She, at the last minute, I just say, who do we want to moderate this global watch party? And Larry just came to mind. Sirius XM, phenomenal sister, head of the Center for Law and Social Justice, something like that, at Medgar Evers College. And at the last minute, no notice at all, she said, yes, I'll come. That's my dear sister, Jasmine Mickens, in the middle. And I'm really telling you, her Instagram name is Reparations Baddie, and she is a baddie. And they go me right there. This is me and Larry. Next to that, this is Dr. Vicky Casanova Willis. This is me and Dr. Vicky. Dr. Vicky is I don't know how we do this, wife of Stan Willis. He recently passed. Stan was the person really responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for the Chicago torture victims reparations package that passed in Chicago during a time, again, when reparations was not popular. It was not mainstream. And he's the one that said, we're going to use the term reparations, because reparations is not just for the enslavement era. These victims in Chicago that were tortured by the police commissioner, or whoever he was, John Burge, need amends and need repair. And they did receive reparations. And part of that reparations package also was the requirement that the school textbooks in Chicago reflect the history of that torture that went on for decades upon decades. I remember they used something called, I forgot, was it a little black box or some box attached to wires that they used in Vietnam and put them to the genitals of the prisoners. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. So shout out to Dr. Vicky, who's an internationalist herself. This next screenshot, this is our global, a screenshot from our global watch party. That's Belle. She's a member of parliament. She's at the top in the UK. That's Jasmine again. There's Larry. There's me, etc., etc. Down below, these two sisters. Oh my God, we had our little community event, and I had not quite organized someone to do libation. And I see these sisters sitting, Nakan laid out, right? And I said, y'all, come on, work with me. Can you do the libation? We can't have a community forum without libation. That was Sister Amatine, and I forgot my other sister's name, but yeah. And of course, all I saw was plastic plants around, so we improvised, and it was good. So again, people coming together on the spur of the moment, helping to make things a success. Thank you. I see someone's cursor. Thank you. Put the cursor. And then next to that, I forgot her name, but this was a representative from Mayor Mamdami's office who spoke. She was outgoing commissioner of something dealing with international affairs in the mayor's office. Next to that is me and Trevor Smith. Trevor is the executive director of Bliss Collective. Bliss stands for Black Liberation Indigenous Sovereignty, and they were the co-hosts along with Reparation Education Project of this community forum. And Trevor, I also made sure that the community in New York was represented at the Wreath Lane, and he made the official remarks at the Wreath Lane, and his remarks were absolutely profound. Okay, next person I'm with is Gay McDougal. If y'all know Gay from back in the day, I mean, a prominent internationalist, was like the head of the third committee of the UN, the Committee on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. She's recently, retired. But this was at the UN, bumped into to Gay. And anybody who goes to anything dealing with the next picture, dealing with black folk at the UN, you know you're going to see Sister Queen Dolores Blakely. She's always there. She was always there with Queen Mother Moore. When Queen Mother Moore was going around, that was her walking partner, okay? Her confidant in the light. So again, I bumped into Queen Mother Dolores Blakely there as well. So wait a minute, what was I going to say? Okay, well, let's go to the next slide. I don't remember. Oh, is there another slide? I don't remember what I got on here. Okay, yeah, okay. So Congressional Black Caucus. Yes, they did issue a statement, okay? And so as part of the Global Watch Party, my remarks, in addition to all the other remarks I made, I said I was pleased to announce that the Congressional Black Caucus issued a statement endorsing His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama's declaration before the UN. And the CBC stated, quote, "History remembers those who choose courage over convenience. The Congressional Black Caucus calls upon UN member states to seize the historic moment, adopt the resolution, and affirm their commitment to building a more just, equitable, and unified world free from the enduring legacies of transatlantic enslavement, colonialism, and apartheid." Let me see. Next slide. So we're not going to click on that. Just letting you know, I wrote an article on the train, really, coming back from New York to D.C. on the only place I know that will publish me, because I published myself there. It's called Medium, and it was called Gravest Crime, Global Clarity, Bearing Witness to a Turning Point in Reparations History. So if you just type in my name and Medium and Gravest Crime, it might come up. Next slide. I think. So, did I say, yeah. So, as we're concluding down this part, and before we open it up for Q&A, I wanted to share a bit about my testimony at the United Nations last year. Brother Tracy, that should be hopefully the last thing I sent. I don't know if it's going to click on there. I sent you a link. Well, it's working. Oh, wow. So this was last year.
Harmful
No,
narrative.
can you rewind it some, please? Just before you play it, I just want to say PFAD is a permanent form for people of African descent. And I was asked to make remarks as part of civil society alongside a representative from the African Union and a representative from CARICOM, the Community of Caribbean Nations. And I just want to share what I put, and we'll just hear that. That's Jean Sumer. She's just introducing me. You can kind of, well, you can go on and play it. Okay.
Nkechi Taifa. Ms. Taifa, you have been involved in different domestic initiatives to advance reparations, including with the California Reparations Task Force. Could you please elaborate on how global and local efforts to advance reparations can be linked to ensure that the global Africa diaspora is fully represented and included in the fight for reparatory justice?
Honorable Chair Kimani, Dr. June Sumer, esteemed colleagues of the African Union and CARICOM, and everyone assembled here, I am attorney Nkechi Taifa, and it is a profound honor to speak before you today as a representative of the vibrant civil society community of the African diaspora. For over 5 decades, I have advanced the cause of reparations in the United States, from teenage activism nurtured by elder reparationists such as Queen Mother Audley Moore, Dr. Amari Abubakari Obadeli, Dorothy Lewis, and as a founder of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. Today, I am part of the escalating movement for reparations in the United States, which is abounding with state and local reparations commissions and task forces, legacy and 21st century Black-led reparations groups, descendant initiatives, academic and religious acknowledgments, allies, and growing legal, corporate, and philanthropic support. I am enthused that the reparations whisper has now become a roar. The African Union's recognition of the diaspora as Africa's sixth region is a monumental affirmation of unbroken bonds between the continent and its global descendants. However, its current diasporic framework appears to disproportionately center state actors, marginalizing millions of non-self-governing African descendant people in the United States whose ancestors were forcibly cast across the Atlantic Ocean in chains. However, it was diasporic civil society, not state or government, that first propelled the reparations movement onto the world stage. From Marcus Garvey's thunderous call for African unity to Malcolm X's charge to frame our struggle as a human rights issue, civil society giants have blazed a trail for global reparations. Queen Mother Moore's fearless demands for redress, Bob Marley's revolutionary anthems carried cries for justice across oceans. These visionaries proved that it was not government, but the unstoppable fire of the people that ignited the global movement for reparations. And it is that fire that still burns today as we stand on their shoulders, determined to ensure that civil society has a respected voice at the table. Thus, as we envision reparatory justice globally, the African diaspora must not be seen to be limited to state actors. The sixth region must robustly include civil society, those communities around the world whose voices have too often been sidelined or erased. And the African Union must explicitly and unambiguously acknowledge African Americans, Afro-descendants, New Africans, whatever the term is that is finally agreed upon, i.e. the progeny of those who endured these atrocities as integral members of Africa's sixth region in this permanent form must and can continue to be a space where civil society and government meet as equals, helping to shape, not shadow, global reparations agendas. In my written statement, I speak of the power of words, language, and the importance of evolving new narratives and terminologies respecting the experiences of Africa and its global diaspora at drafting tables. As the brilliant Audre Lorde so powerfully reminds us, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Using the terminology of the oppressor to describe our oppression only entrenches the harm. For example, the continued use of terms like slave trade enshrines outdated, harmful narratives. It implies voluntary exchange, masking the brutal reality that it was a crime against humanity. It dignifies the merchants, not the millions that suffered. This was not trade, this was war. The violent abduction and forced migration of millions of African human beings in torturous voyages across the Atlantic Ocean cannot and must not be sanitized. This is not about semantics. It is about truth-telling. It's about building an international human rights architecture that fully reflects the evolving standards of decency in a maturing global society. And it is incumbent that we repair the words we use to tell the truth. Language matters. In closing, it is exciting to be engaged in history in the making. A history that is equal parts edgy, exciting, transformational, confirmational, messy, confusing, and joyous. Africa, and we as part of its African global diaspora, are beyond rhetoric now and well into action mode. We are not outsiders. We are one people shared by a united history of resilience and resistance. We are Africa's children, displaced, but never disconnected. The blood of our ancestors still weep from the ocean floors, plantations, auction blocks, lynching trees, and from the streets. They cry not for remembrance alone, but for reparatory justice. In the immortal words of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who victoriously received a posthumous pardon from the U.S. government and an exoneration from we, the people, up, you mighty race, we can accomplish what we will. Africa for the Africans, those at home and abroad. Thank you.
Hold on, there's more. I think, I think the other part. This is closing statement. That there was 3 hours of discussion with the
Thank you so
audience,
very
and then
much
this
for
is the
this
closing.
opportunity to contribute to such a historic and critical dialogue. Never did I realize as a 16-year-old teen 50 years ago that today we would be addressing issues such as this on the world stage. So I'm definitely in support of youth, having a youth representative on the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent. Because while you sit at the feet of us as elders, they are the ones that are going to be continuing the struggle. So I'm definitely in support of that. I also want to specifically uplift the statements that were made about the DDPA, the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. I was not in Durban in 2001. I was my then 6-year-old daughter, who's 30 years old now, was entering, school. But I just want anybody who was at Durban, just look, whether you're in the diaspora or from the United States, just to stand, because I'm just saying those were courageous. I don't know why no one's standing right now. Come on, Afia, Kwame Kalamar, Roger, Ajuaya, Toro, I'm just saying that was historic. And we stand on those shoulders as well. As a lawyer dealing with the legal issues, I just want to say that we cannot rely on legalities alone. It is incumbent upon us as lawyers to push the envelope. That is how change is made, not staying with the status quo, but pushing the envelope. And then I just want to go and conclude by saying, my written statement, I have 4 recommendations, but just to ensure that Africa's 6th Vision fully embraces all segments of the diaspora, et cetera, et cetera. So in this pivotal moment, the world is watching, and history will record what we did with this opportunity. Let us move not with hesitation, but with bold, principled, and united action. The time for reparatory justice is not tomorrow, it is now. Reparations now. Thank you.
Okay, you can turn it off now. Yes, I just have pictures. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to show the picture. But for what? Thank you. She put it in the chat. That whole. So Baba Kalechi, Motiliwa Tendai. We can open it up for Q&A. I'm finished. I would just say one thing in concluding, that the fruit that we see today across the globe, it emanated from historic seeds that were watered and planted for generations. I always say that reparations is, excuse me, wow, not sneezing. I always say that reparations is breathe, Nikichi. Reparations is no longer a stretch of the imagination or an unobtainable goal, but very likely a reality and obtainable in our lifetime. Thank you.
Yeah, but Santa Sana Mama. So we'll open it up for questions. We're gonna read the questions in the chat first. Before I do that, I do want to point out that there's another program that's happening immediately after this. You mentioned Sister Ajua Aitoro. So let me share the flyer real quick So we encourage people to sign in. I put in the in the chat the link to register for that. Hopefully y'all can see the flyer. So that program starts at 2 p.m. This afternoon. So after we're done, we encourage everyone to sign up for that. It's organized by the social workers for reparations. I wanted to make that announcement. And again, the link to register for that event is in the chat. And we thank them for the work that they're doing. And of course, they also helped promote this program today as well. So,
And Baba
let's
Kalechi, can I
go
just
ahead,
say
please.
also that this is how I plan to celebrate No King's Day. I'm going to be at my computer looking at the next program that goes on that's featuring my sister Ajua. The social workers, the black social workers have been stalwart allies, very much a part of the reparations movement. And Baba Dr. Onaji Muid, Baba J, we call him, has always been there on the front lines. And that event that happens after this, I think at 2 o'clock Eastern time, is also honoring one of our reparationist elders, okay, Baba Leonard Dunstan Ibaye, who recently passed, who very, very much was a reparationist. And his number one person, our dear sister Roz Prudhomme. I mean, we're talking about just stalwart people in just any and every movement that's out there. And they are our elders. I mentioned them in my memoir also, Black Power, Black Lawyer. I mentioned a whole lot in there, but yeah. So I just want to emphasize the importance of, let's continue the spirit that we started this morning at 11, take a break for lunch, and then come back. Okay, back to you, Baba Kalechi.
Yeah, Bo, Sante Sana for that. I'm just going to go in chronological order in terms of the questions. And again, if anybody has.
I just want to mention though, Baba, that Baba, Dr. Onaji Muid is on he's here. So if you want to click on for him so that folks can see, since he's in charge of that.
Is you want him to come on, or does he want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to show his face so people would see who he is.
All right. So the first question is, I guess is a question. It sounds as if the abstentions. Okay, somebody just clicked on something there. While I'm reading. Okay, it sounds as if this abstentions is seen as forward motion. Were there any countries or blocks who voted in unexpected ways?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't really answer that. I will say this very honestly. Going into that day, we did not know definitively what the countries were going to do. They said they were going to vote and stand as a bloc. But you never know what happens when you're actually there. So even in terms of the African Union, CARICOM, I mean, at the last minute, there was anxiety. I'm not going to name the countries, but there was countries that were seemingly wanting to back out. But the coalition of countries kind of like did in fact stay together. I did not expect that large number of abstentions. I thought those were going to be no votes. Honestly, I thought the UK, the EU, I thought they were going to be no votes, because they usually are. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But they're grappling with dissent in their own backyards as well. France, Haiti, okay, there are legal claims out there all over the world with respect to reparations, okay? And some of them voted to abstain because they did not want to set any type of precedent in terms of any legal stuff that they have in court or whatever. But again, I saw it as a positive step, the abstentions as opposed to them going over to no's. Because to me, it showed unequivocally that the majority of countries don't want to go along with whatever the U.S. says. Three. Yeah, Argentina just got a huge sum from the United States. They're like a haven for um, um, bad people. They're a settler colonized state. They whitenized their population. How you gonna have a country that's right next to Brazil and you don't have no black people in it? Sometimes where are the black people? What happened to them? I mean, you know what I mean?
We know that they historically exterminated the black people who were there.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so they got to cover up their little lie too.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And there was a question about whether the slides would be made available. I mean, you can
No,
yeah,
they were horrible.
Yeah,
I just,
but
oh my God, no.
I sort of figured that would be the case. But the video will be available in the archives of PO members. You know, we during these workshops we always say this, and sometimes it may not seem fair, right? You come to the workshop and you want to see the video, but we are an organization. We are a grassroots organization, Pan-African organization. We need the support of our people. If you don't join the PO, we can't do what we do. So if you benefit from what we're doing, then be part of what we're doing. So us asking you to join, become a member, you can have access to all the. Mama Keisha's presented for PO. She's a founding member. She's a whole bunch of things she shared, and valuable information her and others have shared throughout. You can have access to that information by joining a PO. So it's not a big ask. So we when we do that to encourage us to be part of, not just speak of the movement, but actually be part of it, to contribute to it, not just our our enthusiasm, but some of our talent and treasure to the resolution of the things that have to be resolved, because we know there's nobody else. We're not waiting for anybody else. There's no one else to wait for. We are the ones we're waiting for. So it's up to us, each of us. So please, if you haven't joined the PO and you love what we do, you come to our workshops, you come to the co-op, you support the credit union, you support all the things that we're doing in the community, join the PO, be part of the movement. So I just wanted to put that little shameless plug out there. Let me get back to what I'm supposed to be doing, which is
So let me just say, I will make available, if I can find it while we're talking, I can put it in the chat. If not, Appeal can send it out. But the resolution, you don't want my little messed up slides. Read the resolution for yourself, which is far more extensive than what I even shared here. I just shared some excerpts. I didn't even share the reparatory justice reparations part. So look at the resolution, and I will say this. I mean, oh God, talk about so frustrating. Even on the day of the vote, I still only had a draft. I didn't even know whether I could share it because language was still changing. I mean, this was a whirlwind, but it was a beautiful whirlwind and beautiful experience to be a part of. And even when, like I said, when the PO reached out to me when I said I was going to the UN for this, I did not know. I was oblivious to just how monumental this actually was. And so anyway, let me be quiet. What's the other questions?
Yeah, boy, and I did add a link to her article in this chat as well for folks who want to check out the article. Next question: what companion legislation or appropriate resolutions are the CBC currently moving through Congress? Just putting it out there,
Well, I don't know if we want to say moving through Congress, but there are a number of bills. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley took over the H.R. 40, the federal reparations bill, from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who passed, and Sheila Jackson Lee took it over from Congressman John Conyers, who passed EBIA, to both of them. And there are some other bills. There's a Truth and Racial Healing bill that was introduced by Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and then when she moved on, I don't know if any of my folk who know the answers to these. It might be, I forgot who took over for that. But there are a number of reparative type bills that are in Congress right now. And my colleague Dreesen Heath, who heads up the Why We Can't Wait coalition, is following all of that. My dear sister, Kenneth Henry, who's co-chair of INCOBRA, is following all of that. And if you join the RMMM, the Reparations Movement Monthly Meetup, which meets the last Tuesday of each month, headed up by myself as part of my organization, Reparation Education Project, you'll get updates on all these things. And I don't know if Mama Afua, Nana Afua is still on the line. I don't know if she is. But if she is, if she can find the link to the RMMM and also, what other link? You probably can't find the link to the resolution. But if you can, anybody can find that. Yeah, all this stuff is Googleable now, not the RMMM. So anyway, yeah. So join the Reparation Movement Monthly Meetup last Tuesday of each month, which is this Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We only go for an hour, but we rock and roll it and we keep it moving. And it's lots of great information that's passed on.
Yeah, bro. We'll find the link to the resolution. We'll post it. There's a question. I'm gonna try to read it. I'm a little confused with the question. It's are most of those who voted Africans dash who others voted for us? So I'm not.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, it's not phrased ideally. It says, are most of those who voted Africans dash who are others is what she meant to say. Who are others that voted for us? I think that's what she was trying to say. I mean, the
CARICOM, the Caribbean nations voted in support. A lot of the countries in South America voted in support. So that's what you're asking. But yes, no, it wasn't just the African Union. The countries in Africa. I was emphasizing them because they are the largest regional bloc right now, and for them to have voted in lockstep and didn't disintegrate away, is profound, and I hope it is indicative or predictive of how votes in the future can go.
Yeah, bro. And I just added the link to the text for the resolution in the chat for anybody who's
thank you. Great. Thank you for that.
Chat's moving up. Let me make sure I got everything. A few other things. Presentation, thank you. There's a lot of accolades for your presentation.
I need to look at the chat. Let me pull it up
You
too.
do
I'm
that.
sorry. I should.
So there was Jeffries. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss anything here. If I do, okay. Argentina. Okay, that's more of a statement. But Argentina, and the haven for Nazis. So what are the next steps? Locally, nationally, and globally.
Okay, so that was a great question. And I would say that during the global watch party, I let the global community know that despite the vote of the country in which I reside, that there is a rapidly growing reparations ecosystem right here in the United States, which is composed of grassroots organizers, descendant-led initiatives, scholars, lawyers, artists, faith leaders, policymakers, state and local task forces, and all engaged in a wide range of strategies, from public education to narrative change to policy advocacy to litigation to cultural work to mass mobilization. I just want to say trust. All of this did not happen by accident, but is the result of decades of hard work and the refusal to not let the issue of reparations die. So next steps are get engaged in what's going on and what's happening, particularly right here in the United States, because it is moving and shaking. One way to find out about what is going on is the Reparations Movement Monthly Meetup. That will be on Tuesday, and I think it was just put in the chat. But there are a wide plethora. I mean, INCOBRA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, just held a national reparations leadership assembly right here in D.C. And we ended it up with a party with a purpose with Proverbs Reggae Band. Okay, yeah. But I say all this to say things are going on all over. There are 5 states that have established reparations commissions or task forces in their own backyards. California, Illinois, Washington State, Maryland, and New York. Okay? You know, I mean, that's significant. There are over 80 local jurisdictions that have done the same, looking at abuses in their own backyards, all while we're waiting for the federal bill, HR 40, or whatever will come out federally to actually become law. So I'd say there's a lot happening. You can plug into what's happening and come to our MMM, and we'll put resources in the chat for you, you know, wherever you are. I think I saw Mickey Dean on the screen earlier. He's out there in Kansas City, you know, just doing it up. Baba Naji, Baba J, it's just doing it up, bringing organizations into this fold, you know, historically Black organizations, you know, like the National Association of Black Social Workers. Let me see, where am I? I don't know where oh, here we are, the participants. Let me see who all is here. I mean, you know, it's, you know, Afia Zakia. I mean, you know, wow, you know, so many.
Let me follow up with that. Let me do a follow-up with that question, maybe expands it a little bit more, or maybe adds a little bit more. So, what are the immediate legal ramifications, if any, of the resolution? In other words, now that it has passed the UN, are there any immediate legal ramifications that we should be aware of?
Well, I think, let's put it this way. Towards the end of the resolution, it talks about, when you talk about harm, okay, then you talk about repair. You talk about amends. You talk about reparatory justice. So towards the end of the resolution are all the different areas there where amends can be made, reparatory justice can be made. Now, to me, that can go both ways. Legally, you can use this document. This is an overwhelming vote of the United Nations, okay, to buttress claims for reparations, whether it's internationally or whether it's domestically here. But then on the other hand, like I said, there's some states that abstain because they felt that a yes vote might hurt them in court. So it can really go both ways. But I guess someone had to step out on faith and push the envelope. And that is what this did. And I will say one thing, because, you know, when you're in the midst of all this, you know, I was just skimming that. So I'm skimming looking for something that I don't see in here. And I'm not quite sure why that wouldn't have been included in here. And I'll tell you what it is in a moment. Because it's already law. It already passed the United Nations. It already passed the U.S. Senate. And it's part of the United States Code. So why we can go out on a limb and say the gravest crime against humanity and not use something also that's all the way on the books? And I'm talking about the issue of genocide. The International Commission on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. 1948. This was right after the Holocaust, okay? It took the United States, I forgot how many decades before they ratified that, but they did ratify it. It is the only human rights convention that is called self-executing, meaning you don't have to have implementing legislation in the United States to bring it into effect. It already came with implementing legislation. All of the other international treaties, the Convention Against Torture, Convention on the Rights of Women, the Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the Convention on eliminating all forms of racial discrimination, all of them are what's called non-self-executing, meaning it cannot become law in the United States unless the United States says it's going to be. That's not so with the Genocide Convention. And why do I talk about that so much? Because when you look at the definition of the Genocide Convention, it's not just killing all the indigenous people or burning the you know, in the Holocaust. The convention states that the issue of genocide is a crime that the countries take to prevent, and the definition is killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting upon the group conditions of life calculated to bring about their destruction in whole or in part. Those are the operative ones. This taking measures to prevent births within the group and forcibly transferring children of one group to the other. But what I mean, all the stuff that we talk about fits within that language. I talk about language so much. That language definition, that's already on the books. We don't need a vote of 123 to pass it. It already passed. But no one seems to use it. Now, we'll say in 2021, I was asked to be a prosecutor. I said, no, I'm going to be called Chief People's Counsel or something like that for an international convention charging the United States with human rights abuses. And I said, let's call it what it is, genocide. And they did. And it harkened back to the 1951 petition that William Patterson, W.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, Mary Terrell, and 90-something others went before the United Nations in 1951 with the petition that was later called We Charge Genocide. Okay? So I guess what I say is that I don't know, and I'm going to kind of find out from folk, because I thought genocide was in here, and maybe I just wasn't looking too good, but where I didn't see it. So I'm going to be quiet. I don't even know how I even brought all that up, but that's an issue that is near and dear to me, because
bro. And I would I know there's a lot of folks on, and everybody wants to talk. Please put your question in the chat. Our time is limited, so we want to try to get to as much as possible. There are lots of comments. We encourage people to read the comments. I'm going to try to deal with the questions. You've sort of dealt with this question already, but I'll read it anyway. Will this open up for legal international legislation? I don't know if you want to add to what you've already said on that. I think you sort of addressed it.
I think it's going to lead in the positive direction, because now advocates around the globe can use this to help buttress our claims for reparatory justice. And it also talks about we should not be doing all this stuff in isolation. The crime and the harm was not isolated. It impacted everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So that's why collaboration is so key.
Yeah, Bo. Next question. As a family historian and genealogist, this is Sister Fikes, I believe. As a family historian and genealogist, I'm particularly offended by the U.S. claim that this effort seeks to reallocate modern resources to distantly related people. And the question is, what work is coordinated with this effort to help U.S. residents recover their ancestral roots?
Well, I will say there's a lot going on with respect to that. What's our dear sister? I know she's been on appeal before with the African genealogy.
Gina Page.
Gina Page, African ancestry. They're doing a lot in that realm. The state of Illinois actually has legislation where they're providing free genealogical searches, etc., etc. I commend all those efforts. I will say though that should not be a condition of or requirement of a legitimate claim for reparations or the receipt of reparations. I think for those who wish to go that route, they absolutely should. I've done it to a small extent. I need to do more, but it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not our fault that so much time has passed, that records are lost. Courthouses were burned down. People was escaping from the South to other areas from the Klan, changed their names that they didn't even have anyway. They had slave owners' names. So some people feel that in order to receive reparations, you have to be able to trace yourself back to a particular plantation or whatever. I totally reject that. I mean, the harm was very much racialized, to all of us. And again, those who want to trace their roots absolutely should and must. but it should not be a penalty upon those who do not. And then there are people who, what are they, who don't know who their parents were, or they're orphans. I mean, in the diaspora, we talk. I mean, there was so much interchange and intermingling between the Caribbean and Brazil and Haiti and here, back and forth. I mean, I'm just saying, we are one people, united by a common history and ancestry, and we must not allow certain doctrines, I guess you can say, to divide us. So again, yes, there's lots, it's growing in terms of genealogical research, but we also got to be careful too, because that too can be used against us. The DNA, I mean, it's just, who knows what the future holds in terms of those things. So.
Okay, I have another question. According to Irma Abromova, head of the Institute of Africa and the Russian Academy of Science, this resolution has, this is the quote, this resolution has a chance to unite African Union, African continent, and or this move could shift discussions on colonization, colonialism and the slave trade from rhetoric into legal and financial sphere. The question is, what are your thoughts about her analysis and or statement? You sort of addressed it already, but if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, well, I'm just now seeing it, so thank you very much. I just want to say that one thing that I failed to mention was that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was slated as what they call the African Union champion for reparations. So this wasn't that this was just Ghana doing all this. He was slated. He had staff. He was pronounced by the African Union as the champion, the African Union's champion on reparations. So there already was some unity there. Okay, so I don't want people to think that this was just totally Ghana. It was a collective effort. And when she says shifting from rhetoric, well, we do need to shift from rhetoric. I don't want to get entrenched in the thing went off my screen, the chat. I don't want to get entrenched in the legal and financial sphere, but I mean, we talking about money, which we're not just talking about money, but financial benefit is a part of it. Changing of policies and practices is a part of it. All of that. So I guess it is going into the legal and financial sphere. We must move beyond rhetoric, but we must not allow our righteous claim to be gobbled up in I'll just leave it at. We got to remain vigilant, okay? And we as a people need to unite.
Yeah, bro. So there's another question. It was earlier. I sort of saved it to the end because it might sort of go in a different direction. And I'll add something to it. The question is, what's up? It's how it's written. What's up between Ghana and Burkina Faso? And before you answer that, I wanted to also add something. I know. That's sort of open-ended. But there is something that I have to sort of add some little meat to that question, which you may or may not be aware of. The same day that the resolution passed the UN, Ghana signed the landmark defense combat military contract with the EU. Now, we know that the EU unanimously abstained, right? But that very same day, Ghana signed a landmark military compact with the EU, allowing the EU to now have bases in Ghana and to operate, including drones, and we know who their target is. So just giving a little bit, the same day the resolution was passed, on the other hand was signing an agreement allowing the EU to have unfettered access to have military bases in Ghana and operate as if they have the only capacity to control or to protect Ghana from so-called Islamic threat or militants or whatever. So anyway, with that context, it's a question. I'm not sure if you have anything you want to
Well, I mean, I'm just saying nobody's all right or all wrong. Nobody's all good or all bad. I mean, something else happened on the day of the vote. I'm not even going to mention Lincoln University,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm not even going to go there, right? But so what I'm saying is that we have the tendency many times to
We want
feel
absolute.
that everybody's perfect or everyone makes right decisions all the time, and we are imperfect people, okay? And our own leaders, we have to be careful. I won't even talk about Cedar Chapel. I mean, it's like we must not allow ourselves to have all of our leaders placed on perfect pedestals. Okay, that all are human. What my philosophy is, we need to accept the good and shoo away the bad. So I don't know. I think, yeah. Do you want to say something?
No, I was
think you
just
would
going to
say.
say we have that, still have that messianic kind of thing. We want
Yeah.
to put our leaders, like you're saying, up on a pedestal, when reality is that they have to negotiate a changing world, okay, that has many things coming at them at the same time, that they have to negotiate a spot within it. One of the things that we can say about our ancestors in some of the research that I've done is how they negotiated their livelihood and their ability to survive, even here in the United States. Like for example, like the brother who was engaged in cotton and had the best cotton down in Mississippi, okay, when it was the most oppressive area, that he had to negotiate how to be able to survive with those folk. The same thing happened in Florida with people accepting Catholicism so that they could survive while they were moving around.
Right.
So I'm just saying is we're in a world right now that is changing politically so much so that our folks have to accept some things they wouldn't want to accept in order to be able to survive another day to move us forward.
Pitbull.
I agree with you 100%. And also, that's why when the president of Ghana stood firm on that concept in the resolution as the gravest, he did not capitulate on that. All I can do is say, right on, because I cannot begin to tell you the pressure he was under, not just from opponents, but from the African Union, from CARICOM, from people like me. I mean, I'm just saying, he stood firm. And I'm not saying, I didn't say talk to him directly. I mean, though we did meet, but yeah. But anyway, I say that to say he should forever be heralded for that. But that's not to say that he's going to make all the right decisions all the time. You know what I'm saying? Politics is messy. Yeah, that's why I never wanted to get into it.
Yeah,
But anyway, I'm going Baba Kalechi.
At least not yet. So we have one more question I'm going to read because we got a couple of minutes. I know Mama's got prepared for her next program in about an hour. Could the family relationship between the president of Argentina and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, played a part in their no vote? Because besides Israel and the U.S., they're the only other country that actually voted no. I'm not sure if you wanted to respond to that.
Well, I'm sure it did. I mean, Argentina has vested interest in the U.S. as well as Israel. So it wasn't surprising. It wasn't surprising. Again, the thing that was surprising to me was a vast number of countries that voted to abstain, okay, rather than vote no. Or vote yes, okay. I think I saw Deborah Small. Is that the Deborah Small I knew decades ago, powerhouse in criminal justice reform? Is that?
Sounds like
I can't say. I think that's Deborah. Hey, Deborah. I just want to see your question. I know I'm not going to know the answer to it, but why was it just for the U.S. and other allied to the man Germany paid back with for Holocaust and not for crimes? And thank you, U.S. paid back. Yes. Y'all beat her. thing. Yeah, you know the answer to it all right. Yep, we need to continue call out the crazy. We're living through the ultimate expression of this insanity. White supremacists are so deranged they elected a person who is mentally deranged, sociopathic, and clearly suffering from dementia as their leader, not once, not twice. Deborah Small, hey sis, give me a call sometime.
Yeah, Bo. And of course, as announced earlier, there is a companion follow-up program where Mama Nkechi is going to be sharing.
No, Mama Ajua.
You're going to be on there with her.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to be. I'm going to be in the audience. I'm going to be learning.
Okay, got you.
But I think Baba Naji wanted you to bring somebody up. I don't see that email. Can you just take him off of mute so he can say something real quick as you're closing out?
Greetings, everybody. This is Mama Keeney. Sorry I had to join late. Had a funeral this morning. However, I was going to ask the same thing. Can you please, Baba Onaje, are you unmuted? You come regularly to our appeal sessions, old friend of mine also. And one of these days you're going to come and present, but can you come off mute?
I did it. I hit something that said put a spotlight on. That's the spotlight. I'm a techie.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you to do.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You have to ask her.
You have to unmute him. You have to unmute him.
Yeah, he can't unmute himself.
And then he can unmute. So as soon as one of us asks him to unmute, he can unmute.
I've done that.
Okay.
There he is.
Greetings, family. I'm elated by all this that's happening today. I was asking for permission to have Dr. Cheryl LaRoche speak. She's an archaeologist. She's very much a part of our movement in so many different ways. She did the study at the African Burial Grounds up in New York, and I would not want her to pass this moment for her to say something about today and how she's seeing it. Right now, as you know, they took down all of our work that was done at the president's house here in Philadelphia.
Right.
So they're trying to, as you already know, they're trying to make America not great again, but white again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's that. But I also want to say, I don't know, and I'm a friend of Nkechi, I'm a friend of Mama Ajua, and I don't know if there's ever been a day where we have Nkechi in the morning from 11 to 1, and then Ajua from 2 to 4. I don't think I've seen that ever happen before. And this is to say, whatever profession that we work in, we have to push up against that profession and claim and make the demand that reparations be a part of their curriculum as a mandatory subject to teach and to practice. So I really want everyone to come and be a part of our program that starts at 2 o'clock. And yes, we give you a lunch break. It's on your own, but please come back at 2 o'clock. So I was asking if Dr. Cheryl LaRoche would be able to say a few words.
I'm here. Thank you for unmuting me, and thank you, Onaje, for that shout out. And thank you so much for this presentation. Because I'm the person on the ground digging it up at the African Burial Ground, I was on the ground at the president's house at Hampton, where we found descendants for the people who were enslaved. I'm doing the work every moment. And to see you bring this forward and to see that wreath laying at a site that I have been so intimately involved with tells me that the work has resonance even when you don't see us doing it. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been important. I have to give a big lecture at the end of the week. I now will be able to be highly informed because of what you have told us. And now I can tie my work of 30 years to your work when I go in and talk to these students about reparations. It's been on my mind. I talk to forensic economists. I look at eminent domain. I look at all the ways. I look at women escaping slavery. I look at all of these things, and the statement in the resolution about the women is very powerful, very useful, and will definitely open a chapter in my book. So this has been something, I'm putting your work to work. So thank you.
Well, thank you. My goodness. thank you very much. And I would like to make more of your acquaintance. So I'll talk to Baba J, Dr. Onaje, so I can get your contact information.
Sure.
Thank you. For
Get
your
it done before I die, y'all. Come on.
work. You and me both. Your 30 years, my 30 years, for more than 30 years.
Come on. You got a timeline.
So good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And there's a question, is this a presentation we might attend? I'm guessing she's referring to the presentation that was just announced. I don't know, that's something that's open to presentation.
Yes, it's open.
I mean,
It's open to anyone who wants to be there. And it's
yes.
not just for social workers. We have to hold every profession accountable. So it's for the community to attend so we know how to make the social work profession accountable to our needs. This is why the National Association of Black Social Workers walked out of the big meeting in 1968 to create its own association. So we have to continue to push so we're clear on this demand for reparations.
Yeah, I think she was referring to there's a program that Sister LaRoche had mentioned.
It's at Morgan State. I'll have to ask the people at Morgan. It's a live presentation, but I will ask them. And if there is a link, I'll send it to Onaje, and then maybe he can disseminate it to you. I'm not sure because I'm just talking to grad students, so right. I'll have to let you know.
Okay, Asante. And Asante, Mama Nkechi, for this wonderful presentation. Yeah. Bobby Mamu, you have your hand up. I'm gonna go ahead and can you turn on your camera? Let me see. I guess that's Bobby Mamu. Bobby, you can unmute.
At this point, while you're doing that, Baba, let me run my mouth.
Yeah,
Baba Nkechi, Baba Onaje, not only with NCOBRA, but all of our organizations must come together when we're talking about as one, because we're all working for the same thing, and that is the complete liberation and independence and self-determination of our people. So let us continue to work together. That is one of the reasons why we why we engage folks in these sessions here on Saturdays as well, so that we can, this is one of our forms of education. And the other thing that we're trying to do is also make you all aware of these other organizations that exist across the country who are doing similar work, but maybe doing it in a different way. So we, like Baba had said in the beginning, come and join Appeal. Come and join NCOBRA. Come and join all of these organizations that we're saying, be a part of them. And let's put our money where our mouth is. So instead of that cup of coffee, pay that $10 to one of the organizations that we've got here to help them to be able to move forward, so that they don't always end up having to be volunteer organizations, but we can get to a point where we can pay people for the work that we need them to do. Okay.
Yeah, bro. And Bobby Mamu, I think you're unmuted.
Yeah, real quick, I got 2 quick points I wanted to make. I want to say Asante Sana to Mama Nkechi for that splendid workshop she did today. She's a big voice, beautiful voice for our people for reparations. So keep that voice going, Mama Nkechi. Second, invite the community out to NCOBRA's International Convention. This year will be in DC at the end of June this year. I forget the dates, but it's around the last weekend of June, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, June 20 something. Okay. Last thing I want to mention was someone sent me about a couple of years ago emails of all of the people in the House and the Senate, and they and how they were, let me see, how do I put it? Their descendants were slaveholders, and Mitch McConnell was number 1 on the list that I wanted to share. I remember him saying that reparations was something that he didn't want to deal with because it happened so long ago. And his name happened to appear on that list. And
on both sides of his family. On both sides of his family.
Yes. And he said it's so long ago and he ain't had nothing to do with it and all that. But here we go. But if anybody have that list, please send it to me again, because it mysteriously got lost, or I don't know what happened to it, but it's no longer there. Santi-san.
Key
I
to
can see if I can dig it up.
So I'm going to share again as we close out the Appeal Black Empowerment Conference. We announced it at the beginning. So we're going to have a really powerful conference. It's going to include topics, including reparations and a load of others. You definitely want to be part of that. You can sign up now. That's at the end. It's going to be at the end of September. As I mentioned, the first evening, which is the Friday, is going to be a meet and greet open to everybody to join us for that. And then on Saturday, we have an all-day conference with several tracks, and then we close out the conference with Founders Day on Sunday. Again, you can get your tickets now for any of that or all of that, as well as if you're interested in being a sponsor for that, you can send an email to info@appealinc.org. In fact, let me put that in the chat. Of course, if you're registered for this program, you already have an email from us and for us, so you can always message that as well. And I thank Mama Nkechi for sharing with us. And Mama McKinney's, she's back with us, so I don't know if she has any final closing comments before we close out for the day. You still with us, Mama McKinney?
Yep, I am still here. And I think I only had a couple of things to say, just to thank everyone who has been a part of this series. This is the last installment of our winter series. It feels like there are a couple of people here and some others that might need to join us for our summer series and continue to share information, as someone has mentioned, towards our liberation and reparations. And perhaps we'll think about how to set up our summer series, which begins around the end of July and goes through September. So I just wanted to say thanks to all of you. Many of the faces that we continue to see every week, those new faces as well, and we hope that you will join Appeal. I really appreciate your comment, Mama Nkechi, which basically said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because we do tend to do that, to have that absolute intention. I am in conversation with a couple of people who are dealing with how to maneuver these very, very layered organizations, and there's nothing more layered than government. And because most of us are not involved, especially at higher levels, we have no idea of the layers, and we might need to know so that we can function or make certain that we are functioning in a way that serves our communities, but the layers are there. And so as we say in restorative practices, don't rush to blame, don't rush to judge, investigate. Extremely important. So again, thanks to all of you. Thank you for your comments. The chat is wonderful today. It's live, and looking forward to seeing you all when we come back again actually our financial literacy series will begin
In about a month. Yeah.
our next series, historical cultural literacy series begins. But please join Appeal.
Yeah, bro. And of course, next week we have the Black Saturday Co-op. So come out for that. I don't want to be cliche, but we got watermelons now. We actually got some. It was shocking. Last co-op. I don't know how they got from Guatemala somewhere. I was shocked. We actually had watermelons in March. But yes, the Black Saturday Co-op is on in effect next Saturday. That's just one of the platforms of Appeal. And if you're not familiar with Appeal, go to our website, please, at appealinc.org. You find out all about the different platforms that we have. And again, let me not repeat what Mama McKinney said, but just join and be part of what we're doing. And let's connect as a community and as organizations. And if you're in this platform workshop today and you're not part of any organization, it's not even about appeal. If you're not part of any organization, please join one, because that's how this gets done. It doesn't have to be appeal. Join an organization that is about what you are about, right? So you can be part of the work that's being done. You cannot do it, by yourself. We have to do it together. And, many hands make light work. Again, thank all of you all. Thank you, Mama McKinney, Mama Tendai, Baba Tracy Johnson, Mama Madonna, and all those who have contributed to this wonderful series. It's been great. This is one of the best series, probably say it all the time, one of the best series we've had, in the SEAC series. And again, we continue with the financial literacy workshops in about a month, so look out for that. And again, please sign up for the conference. If you have any information about that, you can also reach out to us at info@appealinc.org. Sante Sana, everyone.
Sante Sana.